Well, I think it's fair to say the situation has changed a lot over those 75 years. At the time we began, we were rescuing refugees from Nazi-occupied Europe and helping them to resettle in this country. We still do that. We resettle refugees. We've got 23 offices across the United States. But the vast majority of uprooted people are no longer have any prospect of being resettled in the United States. There are 40 million of them. And what has changed over the 40 years is from the Second World War, a single major war that implicated countries from around the world, we've moved into an era where the dominant pattern of war is within a country. And as much as we think of the Second World War as the major war of the 20th century, in the end it lasted only a little over 5 years, whereas conflicts today can last decades and involve many thousands of deaths over a long period of time. And that makes it a very different situation from the kind of clearly demarcated war that nation states are involved in. There are about 40 million uprooted people. They're refugees if they've crossed an international boundary by the definitions of the UN, and they're called internally displaced people if they're within their own country. But for all practical purposes, they're in the same situation. They've fled violence, usually with only what they can carry, and the demand, that the challenge is to help them get back on their feet. That very often takes an extended period of time. So 40 million people, take the combined metropolitan the populations of the major metropolitan areas across this country, and you'd get to something approximating 40 million people. So Boston, New York, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Francisco, Houston, Dallas, Atlanta, throw in a few more and you might get close to 40 million. We normally get into a situation in which we're involved because of an emergency, and so we have an emergency response unit that goes in very quickly. I think it's fair to say most of the emergencies we've responded to in the last couple of decades have been caused by conflict, usually conflict within a single country rather than between countries. That's been the driver for our immediate past few decades. But we anticipate going forward that there will be increasing refugee or movement of people because of climate changes. That's already evident in some places where we're involved. For example, in Sudan, we've all heard about the conflict in Darfur, and it's rightly attributed to ethnic conflicts between Arab speaking militias and local or Arab-speaking pastoralists and their allied militias, and then local farmers. But an additional driver is that the desert is moving south. So the pastoralists used to have enough land for their cattle to graze. As the desert has moved further south, they too have started to encroach on what was formerly agricultural land. So there's the beginnings of having the driver be conflict, but conflict in part generated through global warming.